Jews lived in the land of Israel for thousands of years. But approximately 2,000 years ago, when the Romans conquered the land of Israel, they destroyed the Second Temple, and they banished the Jewish people from the land of Israel. So by the millions, Jews left, settled in the Roman and the Spanish Empire. They settled there, they lived there for approximately 1,400 years. But in the 14th century, under demand of the Christian Inquisition, Queen Isabel of Spain ordered an expulsion of the Jewish people from the Spanish Empire. At that time, it happened to be in Poland a king, Casimir the Great. He invited the Jews to come to Poland. So now they're moving over. They're moving over from the Spanish Empire and they settled down in Poland. They lived in Poland for approximately 600 years, until practically all perished to the hand of the German Nazis. And at the end of World War I, there were approximately 3.5 million Jews living in Poland. The Polish government started to encourage Jewish people to emigrate. They did not want to have so many Jews living in Poland. So between 1920 and 1925, approximately 500,000 Jews left Poland. Some of them went to Palestine. There was no Israel yet. Some of them went to Argentina. But most of them settled in the United States of America. For the remaining 3 million Jews that left in Poland, life was not easy. Anti-Semitism was quite rampant. Polish gangs, Polish nationals, used to beat up Jews at the open markets. There was a pogrom in Poland even before the war in a place which was called Pszytyk. The Polish government established a concentration camp which was called Bereza Kartuska, where they incarcerated over there Jewish people of left-wingers. In general, Jews in Poland before the war were mistreated very, very bad. But in comparison to the bad treatments of the Jewish people by the Polish government, by the Polish nations, nothing compared what the Nazi Hitler government had in store for us. In 1933, the Nazi party won the majority for the German parliament, and Hitler was established as Chancellor of Germany. They voted the Nuremberg laws, of which Jews were stripped of their citizenship rights. Jewish professionals could not practice anymore in their professions. Jews were restricted in their movements. They were starting to prepare all kinds of rules and regulations against Jewish people. In November 1938, with the advice of the German government, there was the largest pogrom against Jewish people all over Germany, which was called the Kristallnacht, where synagogues were burned. Jewish books were burned on the open fire. Many Jews were arrested, and they were incarcerated in the concentration camp in Dachau. The Germans started to make plans. They started to make plans for a conquest of Europe and eventually for destruction of the Jewish people wherever they can be. I will now introduce to you our speaker for today, Dr. Alexander White. Dr. Alexander White is a survivor. After coming up from the Holocaust, he realized that he lost all his family. He is all alone, but he didn't break down. He started a new life for himself. He enrolled at the University of Munich Medical School, and he graduated as a medical doctor in Munich, Germany. In 1950, he emigrated to the United States, and he practiced medicine for many, many years. He is now retired. He's making his home in Scottsdale, Arizona. I have now my honor and privilege to introduce to you Dr. Alexander White, and please welcome Dr. White to the podium. Good morning to you. Can you hear me all the way there?
Yes.
Okay. As you heard, my friend Sal told you, my name is Alexander B. White. The B stands for my previous name, which you will have a hard time pronouncing. It's Biały włos, that means white hair. And since I'm losing my hair, I'm left with white. So that's now my adopted name, Alexander B. White. I have known Sal since he was a little boy. He is about 4 years older than I. I'm going to be 86 in about a month. And of course, he's going to be, I believe, 90. Not yet. Okay. Anyway, he's younger than I thought. Anyway, I would like to thank him for inviting me here to speak to you, and especially for me to meet some of people from my hometown that I have known when they were very little. And I haven't seen in close to 70 years. So I'm very appreciative of his invitation. I would also like to thank a righteous Christian who is here with me. His name is Dennis Dufresne, who has been kind enough to do quite a bit of work with me on the Holocaust. And he made a book out of a translation that I translated from Polish, a diary of a lady from my hometown. I'm sure Sal may remember Mrs. Mintz, who wrote a daily diary as she was dragged from Poland to Siberia. A horrible story, but it pales to what happened to us who remained under Nazi occupation. Now, we are gathered here to remember the 6 million killed. To us, survivors, it is not 6 million. It is our fathers, our mothers, our sisters, our brothers, our aunts, our uncles. And it is very important that we remind the people of this awful tragedy, which, by the way, some people claim it's a Jewish tragedy. True, it is a Jewish tragedy if you use a strict interpretation of Holocaust, which means a total destruction of people. But the Holocaust is not only a Jewish tragedy, because close to 50 million people died because of Hitler's not only racial policies, but expansion policies. Close to 30 million Soviets. 5-some million Germans themselves died. German handicapped, German mentally ill, gays, gypsies, Jehovah's Witnesses, many. It was a human tragedy of extreme proportions. Now, some of the people that I speak to may think, well, we live in America, thousands of miles away from the shores of Europe. We have a constitution, we have a Bill of Rights, it could never happen here. Remember that the Constitution and the Bill of Rights is only a piece of paper upon which it is written. You can wipe the togas off unless you have the people defend and guard those provisions.